Bandhavare, Namaskara. As some of you might know, I have embarked on a content creation journey through the Dras, Kargil and Batalik sectors recently. This journey took a serendipitous turn as I recently got to interact with a legendary warrior of Indian Army who is honored with Veera Chakra, a wartime gallantry award for bravely leading the troops of the 5th Battalion of the Parachute Regiment in the toughest theatre of the Kargil War in 1999, that is Batalik. Brigadier B.M Cariappa, a living testament to the rich martial traditions of Namma Kodagu in the modern day Indian Army, is a son of B.C. Muthanna, who himself was an officer in Indian Navy and took part in 1965 and 1971 wars. Brigadier B.M Cariappa was a captain during the Kargil War. Fresh of a personal grief and lack of time to acclimatise himself to the high altitude conditions, Captain B.M Cariappa chose to lead his troops from the front, braving the relentless enemy firing that also included artillery shelling. Many of the mountain features in the Batalik sector raise above 16,000 to 17,000 feet from the sea level. In the higher reaches of the mountains, where the intruding Pakistani army regulars and the Mujahideens had fortified their positions, building those bunkers and sangars, the probability of mortality ratio was highly stacked against us at 12:1. That means for every Pakistani casualty, we had to incur 12 casualties from the Indian side. In spite of all these deadly odds, Captain Cariappa and his colleagues belonging to various battalions of different regiments successfully managed to recapture all the heights and valleys that were held by the intruders and drove them back to their side of the LOC. It's a pleasure indeed to introduce Brigadier B.M Cariappa. Cariappa joined Indian Army in 1993 after passing out of the prestigious Officers Training Academy in Chennai. He is also an alumnus of Defence Services Staff College in Wellington and Army War College. In an illustrious career spanning over 32 years, Cariappa served in Siachen, the highest battlefield in the world, took part in counter-terrorism operations in the Kashmir Valley, counter-insurgency operations in the northeastern region, apart from taking part in the Batalik theatre of the Kargil War. During his tenure as the force commander of the National Security Guards, also known as the Black Cat Commandos, Cariappa partook counter-terrorism and counter-hijacking operations along with K9 special operations. Adding to this, Brigadier B.M Cariappa also led the Indian troops in the United Nations peacekeeping missions in Eritrea and Ethiopia. Well, just to list down the highlights of his envious track record in the Indian Army, I will have to make a separate 15 to 20 minute video. So without much ado, let us get into the conversation part. So, Cariappanavaru ಅವರ ಇಡೀ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಮಿಲಿಟರಿಯ ನೇವಿ ಆರ್ಮಿಯ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಕಳೆದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವರ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರೋಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಒಂಚೂರು ಬ್ರೋಕನ್ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮಿಕ್ಕದಂಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಸಂವಹನವನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಸರ್,
so thank you Hemant for inviting me, coming all the way to Bangalore to speak to me. ನಮಗೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So my apologies to all the audience that I cannot speak in Kannada very fluently. So ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
Why apologies, sir? You have you have made every person from Karnataka feel proud, regardless of whether he's a Kannadiga or Tuluva or a Kodava or a Konkani. We take double pride in saying that B.M Cariappa ji is from our state. Anyway, we all love Indian Army, regardless of which state the soldiers come from. But when the soldiers, when we get to know that those soldiers are from Karnataka, the sense of pride, doubles up. So right now I'm in that kind of elation only, and I can't thank Brigadier B.M Cariappa ji enough for giving his invaluable time to us. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್.
So Kargil War when it started, my unit was in Siachen and we were towards the end of our tenure. That time I was there on a feature which was at about 5,700 meters. It was a new complex. So there I was given some specific task. So while we were there for the task, that time I got a message, we had this connection through the satellite phones. I spoke to my sister and I got to know that my mother is seriously ill. She was detected with cancer in Bangalore. She is in Bangalore. She was in Bangalore that time. So, but I had to finish the task. So I was in a dilemma, you know, ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಮಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಕಮಾಂಡರ್ he got to know that Cariappa is facing this problem. So he gave me a call and asked me what happened. So then I told him कि ನಮ್ಮ ಮದರ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು, ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು, ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಿಲೆಮಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾವು ಕಮಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಗೆ ಇವಾಗ ಹೇಳಬೇಡ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್. ಹಿ ಗೇವ್ ಅ ಕಾಲ್ ಟು ದ ಕಮಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜವಾನ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. Then when he asked him what is the issue, he said Cariappa's mother is detected with cancer and she is not likely to survive. So commanding officer gave me a call and he told me that please come down right now, you will go on leave. So I told him that this task has been given to me, I am about to finish this task, let me finish this task and then I will go. And then the few days I finished the task, there was a tunnel which had to be made which is about 43-45 feet. We finished making the tunnel right at that altitude. So we made the tunnel and then I told him now I am ready to come down.
This was while you were in Siachen?
Siachen, huh?
Yes.
So we were acclimatized. In the high altitude areas what happens is that every there's a system of acclimatizing. Body has to get used to that altitude because it's extremely cold. Temperatures go down to -50. The oxygen content in the atmosphere is very less. So above 9,000 feet you have to acclimatize for 6 days. Then if you go above 12,000 feet another 4 days, and above 14,000 feet another 4 days. So this is the way your body, and you have to do certain exercises. There are certain things. First day you don't do anything at all. Second day you walk certain distance. Third day you walk certain distance and climb certain altitude. So there is a system. There is a system, at least for the army, as to how you are supposed to be acclimatized. Anyway, so let me not get into that. So I was in Bangalore. So I spent about 2 months, and then doctor said that she is not likely to live for more than 3 weeks. Finished my leave and came back to Siachen, and then I told my commanding officer that. So he sent me back. He says, doesn't matter. No leave or whatever, I will get you attached. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇದು ಪ್ಯಾರಾ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಶೂಟ್ ರೆಜಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ 2 ಮಂತ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅವರು ಕೇಸ್ ಟೇಕಪ್ ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಹಿಯರ್, just after a few days, there was so much of news in the media, in the TV and all that Saurav Kalia's petrol has gone missing. Then there is a Mi-8 helicopter which was shot down. Then there's Nachiketa's aircraft was shot down. Then Ahuja's aircraft was shot down. Then a lot of fighting is happening in that Dras area and Batalik area. Dras and Batalik is further to the west.
Yes.
And couple of days after that, my mom passed away. So I finished off with the last rites and all that, and then went to the para center where I was attached, and I requested ki namma illi purpose finish ಆಯಿತು, ನಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕರ್ಟೇಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮಗೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. So I went back to the unit. Ali, when I went there, then I got to know that there were 2 companies. One company is about 120 people. They were lifted and they were taken to Batalik because they were desperate for acclimatized troops, because it takes 14 days for acclimatization. So once I reached there, so in the evening there was some kind of an issue. So the commanding officer, we were sitting there in the mess in the evening, and commanding officer got a call that there is a requirement of an officer in Batalik with one of the companies which has gone there, and there is a, please send an officer. So next day I was sent. About 2 months and 20 days or something like that I had spent in Bangalore. So the problem is that if you spend from the high altitude area, when you come down to the plains and you spend about 10 days in the plains, you have to start the acclimatization procedure once again. So once I went there, there was some issue with another officer who was there with that company. He was, sidelined. And I was given charge of that particular company, and then I was given the task of assaulting and capturing a peak over there called 5203. Now, 5203 was a very important feature because there is a valley. This mountain comes like that into the valley. If we had to, and the LC is still further ahead. So if we had to proceed ahead for carrying out operations, we had to clear this.
Yes.
On the left is Kalubar. It's going like this along the valley. This is a mountain which is coming down like this. So we have the valley which is going like this. Kalubar is going here, and here we have 5203.
So Kalubar is the mountain.
Kalubar is a mountain which goes along the valley.
Yeah, along the valley. Yes.
And this is the valley over here. Kalubar is there over here.
Yeah.
Over here, the mountain was not going along. It was coming into
Like
these fingers, like fingers.
Yeah.
So you had 5203 coming in.
Yeah.
Then there was Sunanpo Kadpig over here. Then there was another, Churbar Sispo, another feature coming.
Yeah.
And then there were several other features like that. So it was necessary to clear 5203 in case we had to proceed the operations ahead. Kalubar and 5203 had to be cleared. Now 5203, there were two assaults which had already gone, one by Ladakh Scouts and one by 12 Jackline, in which we lost Amol Kalia, another officer by the name Kalia. Amol Kalia lost his life in 5203. So I was given that task. And thereafter, we started climbing at around 7:30. Initially, they were giving me some other task. First, they gave me a task of carrying out a raid, but that was suicidal. So luckily, my commanding officer came there, and then I told him that this is not a very viable task. So he went and spoke. I was a captain that time, young officer.
How old were you, sir?
I was 30 years old that time.
30 years old. Yeah.
So then, he spoke to the brigade commander, and then the task was changed back to this. So then, when we were discussing, then I told him that we need to bombard that feature with artillery, nice and proper. And then while the bombardment is happening, that time we climb up and go. So while we were climbing up, that time we could see, the one artillery bomb falls, and then splinters are going all over the place. It's dark, so wherever the splinter is hitting here and there, you could see sparks coming here and there.
Yeah.
So it was that close. And then it was something called timed on call. Timed on call means there is a certain time for the, the mountain is like this, so it'll bring the bombs here. Then after next round of bombs will come here.
Yeah.
Then the next round of bombs will come here. But it's in the mountains, in high altitude area, the trajectory of the, those bombs which are being fired from 20 kilometers away, it is not very accurate. It can be very dangerous because there could be a shortfall. So while you're here, you're asking for fire over here. It could fall over here.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous. So anyway, so there were these other companies of Ladakh Scouts, and there was one company from my unit, 5 Para. So I was the one supposed to give. And timed on call means one is that you have specific time, and then on call. In case the bombs are falling very close, then I have to tell them lift it another 100 meters, lift it another 100 meters, like that. Anyway, so we were climbing up. I'll not go into those little details because it will take a long time otherwise. So, it was such a steep route, very steep. So we were using all our hands and legs while climbing up. And so that party which was going up, there was a large gap between them, myself and the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Now the problem was I was not acclimatized, but because there was an officer who was already sidelined. Now if I also go and say ki, I'm not acclimatized, so then it will be that, that name of my unit, Izzat ka sawal, na? We live on Izzat, yeah. So that Izzat ka, my unit's Izzat will be they'll say ki this unit, all the officers are like that only. right? So anyway, so I didn't tell anybody I'm not acclimatized. It was my second or third day over there. So in the morning at around 4:30, 5 o'clock, we reached the top. There's a huge rock.
So beginning by 7:30 in the evening, then the next day morning by 4:30 you had reached the top. So
to reach the top.
It took that much of time to
climb up, yeah. Very, very bad route. It was like, so what happened was previously when I checked up how did they climb up, the previous two assaults. So Amol Kalia and that there's a JCO, Subedar Anchuk Dorji. They had gone as per the textbook. So I said that if you go follow the textbook, the enemy is also following the same textbook.
Yeah. So they were anticipating what textbook
so as per the textbook, they'll come along the spurs.
Yeah.
You know, spur is like, you know, a finger from the mountain which is going down.
Yeah.
So I said we'll beat the textbook and go along a steeper route. So we took the steep route. It was like very, very challenging, but I was very confident of my troops because they had come from Siachen, which was even more higher.
Yeah.
So in the morning we were just about 5 chaps who reached the top. Now daylight was breaking. If I waited, then I saw down below there's a huge gap. If I waited for them to come up, it would be daylight and that surprise element would be lost.
Yeah.
So myself and another chap, we went from a side. On the one side of the rock, I told this one chap, Namdev Pawar, he had the light machine gun. I told him, you keep the light machine gun here. Once I reach that particular spot, you know, the bunker was over there. If I reach that particular spot, because I'm open over here, there's no cover. So that time you engage, you start firing on the enemy bunker.
Yeah.
In the bunker, there were 2 loopholes.
Yeah.
So it's like covered from the top and from the front and all that. On the top, there's a huge, massive rock, massive rock, and below that they had made a stone wall and there were 2 bunkers. So I said, once we reach that particular place, they were firing from there at one more particular place in another mountain which is there. Now, that was another thing we had done, was in that mountain which was right next to it, which as per the crow flies would be about a kilometer and a half. So we had told them, you keep firing at them from there. You know, there was an officer from 12 Jaklai. I told him that you keep firing at these people. They kept firing, and from here they were firing at them.
Yeah.
So this particular chap, Namdev Pawar, who was with me, I told him once we reach that open space, you open fire so that they are not focusing this side. They are only focusing this side. So he opened fire. We reached close to the bunker. So the bunker is over here. I am here. The loophole is that side.
So that much of time you bought by engaging, by keeping the enemy engaged towards in some other direction.
In another different direction. So anyway, so that's basic ground tactics.
Yeah.
So this other chap who was with me, I told him, you climb on top to the top. I will throw the grenades inside. Once I throw the grenades, anybody who tries to run out, you shoot him. So he climbed on the top. That was a huge, massive rock, flat kind of a rock on the top. And they made those bunkers very, very beautifully. You know, each wall was like this thick, at least 2 feet, 2 or 3 feet thick. So even if you fire a rocket at it, nothing will happen. So now, as we were, I put my rifle to the side, had 2 grenades. I took out both the grenades, removed the pin, and as I took the step ahead and I was throwing the grenade, this chap was there with a barrel like that. You know,
Anyway.
There was another chap who was looking the other side. So all he had to do was press the trigger, and you know, I would have got the entire burst on my face. So, but then I chucked the grenade and quickly came back. And luckily he got stunned.
He got frightened upon the grenade.
He got stunned. So no, not because of the grenade. They didn't know that somebody was there next to the bunker. So it's like somebody standing over here. You know, you're sitting and maybe reading something or something like somebody comes and you'll jump, no?
Yeah.
So he didn't anticipate, you know, that there was somebody right next to their bunker. They didn't know.
Okay.
We climbed, that other chap, he climbed on the top and all that. I was there right outside the bunker. He didn't know. He was like firing at that other position. So when there was a little lean period, I took one step, I threw the grenade and stepped back. So this guy did this. Instead of pressing the trigger, he did this. And when I threw the grenade inside, one chap from inside, he ran outside. So that chap, my other buddy, he shot that chap.
Him down. Yeah.
Then I was waiting outside, you know, waiting, you know, that the grenade will explode. The grenades didn't explode. Yeah. all those grenades were all faulty. So I was like, later on we tried the other grenades, all that entire lot of grenades, none of them exploded. There was some problem in the fuse. So anyway, so then how do you go inside? You do not know how many people are there. One chap has been shot. You do not know if there's some more inside. What do you do? What do you do? So myself and my buddy, then I said, okay, we'll do the room intervention drills. That one gets in. So inside the bunker, it was, on the top there's this huge rock. There's a rock like this. On top of this, there's a huge flat stone. And over here, they had made a wall. And here there was a loophole, and here there was a loophole. And here it is a little like this. It's a little like this.
Yes.
Right? On top of this, there's a huge rock. And then they had a wall, stone wall made in front of it with two loopholes. The exit was from here. So when I threw the grenade from this loophole, the grenades, the moment we were stepped inside, I saw the grenades lying there, one here and one there. Now the grenades were not exploding, right? What do you do? So the moment I threw the grenades, one chap ran out. So this guy shot that chap. Now what do you do? I was standing next to the loophole. Now it will explode. Now it will explode. Now it will explode. So I had this thing. We've been given the Insas rifle. What to do. So then I took one step ahead and put it in that automatic, and it has a 3-round burst. So I fired one entire magazine. Thereafter, now you are not sure whether they're dead, because if you're firing from here, I'm sitting over here, nothing has happened to the chap. You're firing over him. I mean, there could be 1 million configurations. So so then how do you get in? So then of course we did the room intervention and all that. But when we went inside like this, those chaps were shot up. They were shot up all over the place. So 3 Pakistanis were killed in that. Thereafter, the Ladakhis who were climbing from the other side, they had success on their particular objective. So that entire mountain, we were going here, the Ladakhis were going here and at another place. So we were successful here. After a little while, little ahead, the Ladakhis, they started shouting the war cry. There's a war cry. All the units have their own war cry. So their war cry is Kiki, Soso, Largialo. So loudly they shout, Kiki, Soso, Largialo, and it's like one Josh type dialogue for all of us. So so we knew that they were also successful. And then they had killed 4 Pakis over there. We killed 3 Pakis. The rest of them ran away. The previous night, because so much of bombarding was happening. So rest of them, they ran away. And towards the enemy side also, it was very steep. But they had cut the rocks and made a route. Zigzag they had made the routes. And later on when we saw behind, they had cut all the ropes and all that. These people who were there, they were like, to delay
your advance.
So that those people can escape. So their officers and everybody, they would have escaped, or the important functionaries or whatever. So anyway, but then the problem was I was not acclimatized. So next day morning after, then I gave a call to the base, through the headquarters, brigade headquarters. Brigade headquarters, they were controlling. My commanding officer also was there, Colonel Srivastava, and he was given the responsibility to control the operation. So when I called up on that radio set, there's a officer by the name Engineer Officer Indrabalan. So we were calling each other by name. So I said Carry for Balan, code word Sona. Sona was a success code. So the moment I said Sona, so much of jubilation, because that was the first success in that area. So everybody started shouting. Now on the radio set, I could hear them all shouting, yeah. Anyway, so that was the first success. So then I told them that, now that we are successful, I would like to inform that I'm not acclimatized. So in the meanwhile, I had started bleeding from the nose, and you get a very bad headache. Just imagine, suddenly from Bangalore, I was sitting at 17,000 feet. So within 3 days. So normally they don't encourage that, because you can have cerebral edema. It's called HACO, where your body fluids get into your brain, or you could have pulmonary edema, where your own body fluids get into your lungs. HAPO and HACO. It's very common. People who suddenly gain altitude, they're not used to that, they suffer, and you have a very painful death in case you're not evacuated down to the lower altitude and given medication immediately. So anyway, and that time we didn't even have these medicines like Diamox, and people use it when they're going to high altitude and stuff like that. So I had not even taken that, but I was bleeding from the nose and I was having headache, and so I was told to come down and after 10 days, after proper acclimatization, all that, once again I climbed up.
So all this within a very short span, you came out of the sorrow of losing your mother, and within a very short span you were there to serve your motherland, and you were not acclimatized, and then you had to climb up those jagged peaks, which are very severe. As I myself went to Batalik, from Kargil to Batalik, we were traveling. The 60-kilometer stretch we covered. We could notice that every 5-10 kilometers as we used to proceed, those mountains and ridges used to become sharper, and the gradient would become even more acute.
Yeah. It was, they always ways and means. So it's like, it was a slope, but it was so steep that if you lose your balance, you'll slide and come down. But that entire terrain is like that it's like rocks over rocks over rocks. There's very little soil. There is no vegetation at all. Zero. It's like a moon surface. Absolutely no vegetation. And in the valley there is that stream from the ice which is melting from the higher reaches and coming down. And that too, June, July, it was like a trickle. It was not still very, very strong. So that's about it. And then where the water is flowing, there is a little bit of soil, and there are some green patches. Otherwise, Indus River is down below. All these streams go and join into the Indus River, and then from there it flows into Pakistan. And that's the place, in Batalik, Boulders is a place. From there it crosses over and goes, into Pakistan. So I did it one more stint over there, one more tenure over there. I volunteered and went there as a deputy commander. That was between 2018 and 20. So they had specifically, asked for me by name because I fought in that area. So I knew that area like the back of my hand. So that was like many years later, after about 19 years. So anyways, so that was the first assault. So then while I was there on the top, then in the meanwhile I got to know that rest of my unit which was there in Siachen, they were de-inducted from there and they were inducted into this place. And then they were given the task of, that time Manoj Pandey and all those battles were taking place. So they had cleared Khalubar, which is on the left side of that, as you're going towards the north. No? So this is, on the left side. So Khalubar, that entire ridge, 111 GR had gone and assaulted that, and then my unit was asked to climb over Khalubar, go on to the next valley, and there after you go down, there is another feature called Jubar, where first Bihar had gone, right? So my unit was told that you go over Khalubar, any remnants of the Pakis which are there, you clear them, and then go on to the next thing, and from there we had to go towards the LC, where there was a huge base of the Pakis. It's called Munthodalu. So when my unit came and they were given this task, I was told to de-induct from 5203, which is this side of the valley. From there I had to come down. There is one officer by the name R.K. Sharma. He is quite a brave soldier himself. I handed over to him, and then I came down, and since I didn't have so much of troops with me, I had to come down south, leave Khalubar onto one side, and then climb up. It's like,
such a
circuitous route, yeah. So then I went and joined them there at one place called Spring. There's a Spring, one place is there. So I went and joined them there, and the next day I was there, part of that operation where we went and cleared the entire Munthodalu. While we were there, then we were given the second task. My unit was given this task where on the line of control, the line of control, for those who do not know, it's not like a line which is drawn on the ground. There are no markings, there is no marking. So it's the mountain ranges, the mountain ranges go. So there's a demarcation on the map. It's not there on the ground.
Yes.
But on the map, for those who know how to read their map, they can identify that, the line of control goes like this.
Yeah.
So on the line of control, there are these two features, conical and ring contour.
Exactly on the line of control.
On the line. So the line of control goes over it.
Yeah, okay.
So between these two features, so you have these two features, ring contour is here on to the east, conical is to the west. From both these features, there is a spur coming down, a finger coming down.
Okay.
The line of control goes like this over conical, dips into a kind of a U. A U is called a saddle.
Saddle, yes.
And then it goes on to ring contour and then it goes beyond. So the line of control comes from there, climbs on to conical, goes into a dip and then goes on to ring contour and then goes. From ring contour there is a finger which comes down. From conical there is another finger which comes down. So the U, this finger and this finger, it forms a kind of a bowl.
Yes.
And this U was the place from where they had come into our area. It was it's like a pass. So wherever there is a U, there is a dip. In the mountain range,
Yes.
there is a dip.
Yeah.
So that dip is used as a pass. So Karnataka pass, Fotula pass, the Zojila pass. They're all, it's like between two mountains, there's a little dip. So that becomes a pass. So this was a small kind of a pass to come from POK into our territory.
So they facilitated the mobilization of troops and their ammunition supplies and everything to the top of the ridges.
To those places. So they crossed over, came into this area called Munthodalu and they made a huge base over there. This place, Munthodalu, was a place from where I think in the entire Kargil War, the maximum amount of warlike stores was captured. There was something like, there were 2 truckloads of anti-personnel mines, there were RPGs, gas masks, NBC suits, charcoal filters for NBC operations.
Nuclear, biological and chemical war suits.
NBC suits were there.
At such an altitude.
So they probably thought that we will resort to this because it's very difficult. Never in the history of warfare people have seen armies fighting at that kind of an altitude.
Yeah.
Of 17,000, 18,000 feet.
Yes.
So so there we were given. So I was given the task of leading the assault on conical. Another officer from my unit, Jaggi, was given the task of assaulting ring contour. And then of course, that was like quite a bloody battle. I lost 2 of my men. I got injured also. I still have 5 pieces in my head. And we were 2 parties which were climbing up. So, first the task was given to us around 11th of July, if I remember correctly. And then after a while what happened was, while we were advancing to our own we make something called a firm base. And in case there is any difficulty, so firm base is a place which is secured. And you have replenishment and reinforcements and things like that also there.
Yeah.
And so in case you're having difficulty or attack is not successful, you can come back to the firm base which is secured.
Yes.
So we established the firm base and then we were moving ahead. The moment we stepped out, maybe a couple of kilometers, I get a call on the radio set that this commanding officer wants to speak to you. And commanding officer, then he gives me a call and he says, fall back to the base. Base was it's another place called Boulders in Munthodalu. And there, once I landed up over there, we didn't know why is he calling us back after we have gone so far. And walking in the terrain is so difficult because it's all rocks and rocks and rocks and rocks. So it's like very, very difficult. So once I landed up over there, they said ceasefire has been declared. So we are happy. Ceasefire has been declared and the enemy has promised that they will go 1 kilometer behind from the LC. Now that place where we were, there's a huge, that Munthodalu is a mountain. Around it, it's all flat. So it's like a mountain like this and it's flat. And then from there, that valley dips all the way down from where we had climbed up. So that flat area ahead of Munthodalu, that's the place where they had made their base. That's the place where Air Force also went and bombed and all that. If you see the Air Force podcasts and stories. No?
Safed Sagar's detainees, yeah.
Safed Sagar was the name given, like we said, we called it off Vijay, they called it, the Air Force called it Safed Sagar.
Yeah. Navy also had its own name for operation. And we have heard that Musharraf, being a COAS, he had landed somewhere on this, tops only during the month of March.
So just close to Munthodalu, there is another place where there is a helipad. That helipad is still existing. You know, when I went there many years later as a deputy commander, you know, that nobody actually ventures there because there's a lot of landmines over there. So we've still left it. We said we'll not step over there. So
they are still alive. The landmines might be still alive.
They randomly, you know, what happens is because the landmines, you place it at one particular place. So you know, scoop a little earth and then you put the mine and take off the pin and then cover it up. So now there is a lot of snowfall. You know, so much of snowfall, this entire, you know, it goes beyond the ceiling. Now the snow is melting, it's taking the earth and the soil with it. So if you think that it is here, it will not be there. When the snow melts during the next summer, you'll search, it's not there, it's moved somewhere, it's shifted.
Might have been swept down by this, you know, by the melting ice.
With the soil and things like that, it's gone somewhere, it's somewhere else. So you do not know now, you know, as per the map you placed a mine over here, but tomorrow it's not there, so you do not know where it is. So it's very dangerous. So lot of instances, you know, soldiers have lost their legs because of the mines, laid by the Pakis, sometimes laid by us.
And sometimes, you know, I have read it in a very deep report about Kargil War that the Pakistanis laid landmines under the deceased Indian soldiers, so that our soldiers, when they went to retrieve the bodies of slain soldiers, those landmines used to get blasted, and many soldiers lost their arms or legs because of such an exposure, unexpected one.
Yeah, so this is a tactics even used by the terrorists in JNK. So when they get shot and they know that they're going to lose their life, so you know, the grenade has it's got a pin and it's got a clip. Till the time you don't release the clip, the grenade will not get activated. So the pin keeps the clip intact. So if you put the pin and hold the grenade like this, the clip will remain there only, nothing will happen. So world over, I mean, now there are different types of grenades, but bulk of the grenades are like that. So there's a grenade which is like this, there's a clip and the pin holds the clip. The moment the clip gets released, the grenade gets activated, you've got 4 seconds, you know, to take cover. So what they do is they take off the pin and they roll down like this and this thing. So the moment you pull them out like this,
they will diffuse that grenade.
The grenade will get activated. So that is very common, very basic tactics that I mean that the terrorists use. I haven't to be honest, I haven't come across such an instance in the Kargil War, but this is a very common because I was not in a situation where they captured our soldiers or killed our soldiers and stuff like that. There was one instance, but it was a firefight and they ran away. So they didn't have time to booby trap his body and stuff like that. So that is one of the ways. There are many other ways. There are many other ways you can booby trap a body or a place and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. So the Pakistanis had declared a ceasefire, but even that seemed like a decoy tactic in the battlefield as they continued firing. And somewhere I have read that they continued that ceasefire violation. In fact, ceasefire has become a joke for Pakistanis, that they just keep firing at our troops to facilitate that infiltration of terrorists in the Kashmir Valley. You know, they continued the same in the Kargil sector also. It continued till September. I was told that. You know, when Indians, you know, they recaptured all the heights that were captured by, you know, the Pakistanis, you know, after they were winter vacated. So the Indians had to build those bunkers and sengars back. To undo the Indians from rebuilding those bunkers and fortifying their hold on those ridges, the Pakistanis kept, you know, violating the ceasefire till September. In one such incident, a sepoy from Mandya district called B.K. Sudhir was martyred, and I think on September 17th of 1999. So many of us think that, you know, the war ended on 26th of July. It was only an official declaration, but on the ground it went on till at least September.
Yes. So after the ceasefire was declared, you know, we were observing these two features, Conical and Rinkatur. And then we realized that instead of pulling back, they were supposed to pull back 1 kilometer back. Instead of pulling back, we saw more and more troops coming up, you know, Then once we saw a whole lot of troops, must be some 70, 100 soldiers coming down the slope in that bowl, and they were laying mines. We saw them building bunkers and sangars in the saddle and on ring contour on conical, and then we kept reporting that they're not withdrawing, they're not keeping up to their commitment. So after about 10-11 days, then we were given the go ahead, ki okay, go and now carry out the assault. But by the time they had laid mines, they made the bunkers, they were very well fortified.
So it just gave them that time window to further fortify their hold on.
Correct.
That.
Because that's the line of control. Whoever is sitting on the line of control is dominating, right? So they wanted to hold on to the line of control. They didn't withdraw from there.
ಸೊ ಅಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಲೈಫ್ ರಿಸ್ಕನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಜಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅವರು ಸೀಸ್ ಫೈರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೊಂದು ಡಿಕಾಯ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ತಿರ್ಗಾ ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದು ತಿರ್ಗಾ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಬಂತು. ಬಟ್ ನಾವು ವಿತ್ added risk of having to treat that mine laden path.
Yeah. So that is the reason why I decided that we'll split ourselves into two groups. I with a smaller, just 23 odd people, was to lead a team into the bowl where there was landmines, and the people with another officer was there. He was given the task of leading the team along the spur, along the finger, because if you're going along the finger, it is an easier climb, because if you go into the bowl and then climb up straight, it's much more steeper. So and all these troops, they were assembled, and I told them that there are a lot of landmines over there. Don't walk on any plain ground, on soil. No matter how difficult it is, don't walk on any plain ground. Walk over boulders. If you have to jump and walk and do whatever, don't walk on any plains. This is the way we escaped the landmines. And after that operation was over, there was an officer by the name, from the engineers, by the name Pradhan. He was demining the area, and then he was, this landmine exploded in his hand. He lost his eyes and his hands, poor chap. He also was awarded Veer Chakra. I think he diffused some 165 mines or something in that same area from which we had gone. It was like really quite messy. So anyway, it was quite messy. If I start getting into the details, it will take too much of time. So when we were climbing up, our stomach and all was like in a bad shape. We had not eaten anything properly. We were only eating, I don't know what's it called in Kannada, shakkar paras and namkeen paras. It is that
sakramitai.
This is that maida kind of a thing dipped in sugar, or the same thing dipped in salt. So if it is salt, it is called namkeen para. If it is sugar, it is shakkar para.
Yes.
So that doesn't get bad. So we used to carry that in our side pocket, and that is what we used to eat. We never got any proper meals. I mean,
for days together.
For days together.
Yeah.
For that 1 month I was there, I think I got those meals ready to eat. It's made somewhere here only in the CFRI.
CFTRI.
CFTRI, and close to Mysore. So you get that, inside that there is one little stove is there with camphor, and then there is some kesari bath is there, and there is some, some rice is there, and there is some, what's it called?
Uppittu.
Upma is there.
Upma,
and there is some, what's it called? Rajma beans. Rajma beans. So it's all pre-prepared. You only have to, it's like MTR, ready to eat kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You just put some water and heat it up and you can eat it.
Light up that camphor and heat up and
in your mess tin. So all of us used to carry a mess tin.
So you spend 1 whole month there. So that is a place where every single minute feels like an hour. So as you told it right, it takes days together to define, to describe exactly what you went through. Almost every single cliff after cliff or valley after valley, you treat it.
But then you come back to a place like this, and you can't actually explain all those details, because I mean, when you're in a comfortable place like this, beautiful place like this, and then trying to make the people understand what kind of a terrain it is, what is the kind of situation we were in. People don't, they can't comprehend unless they've been there themselves.
Yes.
Nobody understands.
Yeah.
till the time he actually goes there to Ladakh. All the adventurous people, they go now on their bikes and on their four-wheelers. And
No, most of these bike riders, they take that Dras, Kargil, and then they will take deviation towards Leh. They should go to Batalik and treat that Aryan Valley. As I told you 15 days ago, I was in Aryan Valley going through that. The sheer steepness of those
mountains,
massive features and the kind of jagged structures that they were, and I was just scratching my head and wondering like what made our soldiers to brave the incessant enemy firing, not only the gun firing but also the artillery firing, and they had to climb all the way up. And as it was said, the probability of this mortality was 1:15 against our favor, and still you people went up there. And I don't know what kind of bloody mindedness, what level of that bravery, or I don't know how to define that. I mean, I'm running short of adjectives to define the kind of that mental strength that you people brought up. And especially you were just fresh from that sorrow of losing your mother, and you had to muster all that kind of tremendous courage. Plus, you are not acclimatized. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just shell shocked. Even
by the second operation, I was acclimatized. That was not an issue. So, and since I'd served in Siachen, so I knew what that you have to keep yourself hydrated, and you have to keep yourself fit. All those things I was aware of. So because I'd already spent about close to 2 years over there. So I was familiar with all those aspects. But then the only thing is, you can't imagine this. Where do you go in case you want to, go around the corner? There's no proper toilet here. There's no water. There's no food. There is constant bombarding happening all the time. There's splinters flying all over the place. You never know when is the next bomb going to land on you. There's that anxiety. There's a little bit of fear. There's all those things. When it all combines together in a situation like that, and no proper food and things like that, it has, the first thing that gets affected is your stomach.
Yes.
Most of us had blood dysenteries. There's only blood and blood that we were excreting. So it's like, it was like really, really bad. So anyway, so I was coming on to the second operation. In the second operation, what happened was, so when we started climbing up, so at around 2:30 or something like this, I remember correctly, from the there was one assault going on to Ringkantur and one assault going on to Konikal. Jaggi was leading the assault on to Ringkantur, and there was a huge explosion. And after that, we could hear somebody screaming. So I, in my assessment, thought somebody stepped on a landmine. I didn't know who it was, and his shout was, it was echoing in that bowl. Because I was going up from the inside of the bowl, and there's somebody firing from the center of the saddle, somebody firing from the top, somebody firing from here. But there was no fire coming on to our location. So because we were quietly climbing up. Now my stomach in the meanwhile was like in a bad shape, and I said I have to relieve myself. While all the firing is happening there and all that was happening, and then I went to relieve myself, and the entire there's artillery firing, enemy artillery firing, our own artillery firing, there's firing happening. So when I was relieving myself, next to me there was a huge rock which went tumbling down. From somewhere on the top it went, just missing me. And next I could hear is one of my own chaps started screaming at the top of his voice. And when he started screaming, I thought, shit, somebody's got crushed or he's stuck below the rock or whatever. So I quickly zipped up and went down. There was one chap who was, below the rock. So with our team, there's an artillery team. There's 3 guys are there from the artillery. They are the forward observation officers, because the guns are somewhere far away. This chap has to see the target. From where he can see, he's telling the guns to bring the artillery fire over there. So he's got a radio, he's got a surveyor, the guy who reads the map, and he has the officer, the forward observation officer. So
communicate the coordinates as to where they should bombard.
So, and there's a technical way of doing it. So I'll not get into that. So the guy who got pinned down below the rock was one of the FO team, from the FO team. I think it was the surveyor. And he was like stuck below the rock. So all of us then got together and pushed the rock. We can't leave him like that. So we pushed the rock down, and then nothing had happened to him. The only thing was he had the skin from his nose had come out, and it was hanging like this. The bone and all was visible. And he was shaken up. He fell between two rocks, and there was a cavity over there. Just luck, he fell in between that. There was no other damage to him except for this.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive.
So he can, I mean, that story can be carried across generations, in his family.
Yeah, he can speak about that mark on his nose for a couple of generations. So anyway, so all that happened, and then we resumed climbing up. So while we were about to reach the top, that time I got a call from the next party, which is going along the spur. They were about 70 odd chaps. They gave me a report that they've reached the top, that they gave me the code. We kept the same code word, Sona.
So,
Dikshit was an officer. He had freshly come out from the academy. So he had never seen mountains before, never seen snow before. He's from Maharashtra, poor chap.
yeah.
Never seen,
And most of the soldiers had not seen action before, because it was 28 long years before the previous war had happened in 1970.
But as far as we are concerned, we had seen action. Our chaps had seen action in Sri Lanka. They'd seen action in.
Oh, you're okay, Sri Lanka. When? Because you were not part of army in 1987 when IPKF had.
No, I was not part of it, but my unit was part of it.
Okay.
So I had soldiers who had fought in Sri Lanka. I had myself participated in the operations in Nagaland and Manipur.
Northeast, yeah.
So there it's like those chaps are very deadly.
Yeah.
But it's not like a prolonged kind of like Kargil is a prolonged thing.
Yeah, prolonged.
Went on for a couple of months. Anyway, so when I was about to reach, these chaps gave me a report that they've reached the top. So he said Dikshit for carry, code word Sona. So I said, you secured it? He said, yes, there's nobody over here. And then I can see, it's like, the top of the building, it's over there. I'm about to reach there. I don't see any of my soldiers over there. And we are climbing up. And then I was thinking, quite relieved, okay, we've captured the area safe and sound and stuff like that. But there was something which tells that it is, that there is some lafda, it's not okay.
The sixth sense was not sure about it. Yeah.
So I'm getting closer. I can see, stone walls were made here, stone walls are made there. And then, as we are getting closer, then it is getting clearer that, it's not like the way it is. And then we reached the top. None of my soldiers are there. But what was even surprising is there was no enemy soldier here.
It was completely deserted.
Yeah. That one particular peak.
Yeah, peak.
So there was a huge rock on top of the peak. One side of the peak they had one stone wall like this. Then there is another stone wall over here. Here there were stone walls over here. Okay. This side is a sheer cliff. It's like a 700 feet of fall.
Yeah.
And then from this rock, the LC goes like this. It's like a jagged edge.
Okay.
It's like a sharp edge.
Yeah.
And 40 yards away, there is another position over there. And in that position, when it was getting a little bright, there we saw that there were two walls. And between those two walls, then we saw there was a poncho. You know what's a poncho?
No.
It's like a rain cape kind of a thing, which we use for, in case there's rain or there's snow or something like that. You can spread it and make it like a kind of a roof.
Yeah.
Tie it up on all the four sides.
Okay, to shelter yourself.
Shelter yourself. And then below you put a sleeping bag and so that you're protected from the snow.
Okay.
And down below you have that rubber mattress.
Okay.
So we saw that one chap was, comfortably there below the poncho, and he was there in the sleeping bag. And then I thought he's my chap, because my chaps had given a report. We reached the top. And then I started shouting at him, all kinds of galis, keeps like Haramzade, bloody, you should be taking defenses.
Yeah.
You bloody aake let gaye yahan pe. So then that guy also got up lazily. So there were two walls like this. One wall is close and one wall is a little away. In between these two walls, this guy was sleeping behind this wall.
Okay.
But behind both the walls, but from where we were, we could see this chap.
Yes. Okay.
Now that guy was confused because they also didn't anticipate that there's somebody coming here. So he got up like this and he was looking. So when we were shouting at him, one chap from this wall ran across like this.
Yes.
And when he ran across, that is the time we saw he was wearing khaki.
Okay.
Pakistani army, they wear khaki.
Khaki only, yeah.
And then Vikram, who was with me, then he told me ki saab ye to sala Pakistani hai. And then you realize, but he's so close. It must be, close to that where that wall is. And And then I told Vikram that you shoot that guy who's in this poncho, I'll shoot this guy. So this guy was behind the wall. So you could only see this much, and I'm a very good shot. Right, took aim, and that guy was seeing like this. I shot him here. So his body fell between those two rocks. His body fell this side. Then we took the binocular. It was snowing little, but the snow was falling and melting, so it was not accumulating. So there was we didn't have water. We didn't have snow. So that was a major issue later on. Then we took the binocular and was watching him, and he is dead. That other guy also was dead. And then all hell broke loose, and it was like total chaos and madness. Firing, it's like chaos. You can't even speak to this other person. It was like such a solid chaos. So anyway, so then somebody shouted after some time. Somebody shouted ki Hemcharan has got shot. Hemcharan, was establishing his medium machine gun. He's a solid guy, and there's a bomb which fell right in front of him, and that rock, the piece of the rock went into his face. Everything, his face was all smashed. His brain was out, his eyeballs were out, and his body was lying. Half his body was outside, so his body was shivering for quite some time. So another chap, Sunil, he saw his body shivering. He thought he's hit badly. So he left that position to run and give him some first aid. Now the enemy is just there, just 40 yards away, so close. They're firing at us. I mean, you need to be really a goonk to be able to miss at that range. So then Sunil got shot. He got about 7 bullets, and then he fell off. I was saying that one side is a cliff, so he fell off from the cliff. Poor chap. And then somebody started shouting at around 10:30. This was going on from 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 5:15, God knows what time it was. Because daylight breaks out at around 4:30 over there. So this one went on till about 10:30. Then we were this side of the rock, looking at that 2 walls, where I shot that chap. Other side of the rock where the U was, or the saddle was, from there they could climb up. There was no other way they could climb up, because one side is a cliff here, then from here there's a razor's edge, they can't walk on that. Other side is a steep cliff from the Pakistani side, so they had to come onto the U and then from there climb up. From our side it was a little gradual, that fingers coming down. So somebody shouted at around 10:30, somebody shouted that there is a counter-attack coming, So I asked him kitne bande hai? So he said ki sab bande hi bande hai, kam se kam 100 honge. Now our situation was such that the 2 guys were dead. We had almost poofed off majority of our ammunition. We were in a bad shape. Now I was like wondering, I was shouting at the chaps, everybody fire single shot, fire karega, single shot, fire karega. Because each one of us, because of the altitude, you can't carry much of load. So each one of us is carrying, certain amount of water, then that shakkar para, namkeen para, some toiletries, and then he's carrying, the ammunition. So each person is carrying about 5 magazines or 6 magazines. If somebody can carry more, then he carries a little more magazines. And then the crew served weapons like the medium machine gun, they've got that belted ammunition. That belted ammunition, because it fires so rapidly, so you need to carry much more ammunition. So that ammunition is divided amongst everybody. Then the rocket launchers, it's very heavy. It's about some 15-16 kgs.
So all of that you will have to carry at the compromised levels of your vitality at given the altitude.
So what happens is the load, which is the crew load of these crew served weapons, is divided amongst everybody else. So those big bombs which are there, which are fired through the rocket launchers, so there is a number 1, number 2, and then rest of it is divided amongst the rest of the guys. So that's what we normally do. So it's not like that you're carrying only your stuff. The guy who's carrying the radio set, he's got a heavy radio set on his back. He's got his own stuff also. So he can't carry the radio set. So it's very, so we divide the load in such a way that everybody is carrying more or less
equal
equal kind of a thing. Yeah. So that's how we do it. So when they started shouting ki counter attack aa raha, so I started shouting ki, you know, single shot fire karo, single shot fire karo. There was one more chap with me. He was, you know, shivering over there, you know, saying that, sir, we are all going to die, sir, we are all going to die. Now the problem is that, you know, if that fear starts setting in, you need to snap them out. As a leader, you need to snap him. I mean, you could slap him, you could punch him, but get him, turn that fear into anger.
Yeah.
Or you need to snap him out of that fear.
Yes.
Because if others see him and this trembling and see him in fear, that fear starts spreading, you know, amongst the other troops. And that entire thing gets compromised then.
Yeah.
So you need to. So I slapped him twice,
Yeah.
you know, at that point of time. And then I took the radio set and Munthodalo, that place where there was another artillery officer sitting. I spoke to him and I told him ki there's a counter attack coming. They're very, very close. So I told him there's a particular way that you pass the orders. So there's a particular way that you pass the orders. So I said, both of us, Gurpreet, Madok and myself, we used to climb onto Munthodalo and keep observing. When we were called back, so we used to keep observing the enemy from that particular place where he was sitting, which is about 2 kilometers away from our location, as the crow flies.
Yeah. As a crow flies.
As a crow flies.
So imagine, you know,
if you have to
going by walk, then it might
so
be
but
around.
it's clear between my location and his location is absolutely clear. There's no obstacle, there's no mountain and all that. So it's clear. So I told him, reference the center of the saddle, left 100 meters, get whatever you can and please get it quickly. So then he turned around and said that, Cari, this is the Bofors guns 155 mm, which is firing at its extreme ranges in high altitude area. The rounds are absolutely unpredictable. I mean, this is like suicidal, calling for fire so close. Now, the Bofors round has a killing area of about 300 meters. So wherever it falls, the splinters go, anybody in 300 meters is dead.
Yeah.
It's like really devastating.
Okay.